Okay, let's talk about fasting. I started to feel some twitches in my legs last night, and so I took a bath, warm bath, and tried, relax my leg muscles and drank a lot of water. Now, the thing is, when you fast, you're using up your stores of minerals and vitamins and things. And so the concern is that if I start getting like leg cramps, I'm feeling twitches, and they feel like they could go into cramps because I've been doing a lot of walking. So I kind of have to take it easy, make sure I'm drinking enough water and the like. But if I were to feel that my legs were going to go into cramps, then I might have to stop the fast, because it means that my electrolytes are low to the point where, if you're not consuming new stuff, and your electrolytes are low to the point where your legs are cramping up, it's not going to stop. So it pretty much means that you have to end your fast. So that's a thing to be concerned about, particularly since, your heart works on electrolytes. And so, if you do get these cramps that persist, little things like twitches, you can handle that. But if it starts to cramp up, that might be a sign for me to quit my fast. That's another thing I want to talk about. A lot of people, they talk about fasting and they put up in their headlines, 21-day fast, 30-day fast, 16-day fast, 40-day fast, whatever. No one seems to fast for 16 days. It's a number that came out of my head for some reason. Anyways, I think that's a little premature. I think that is not a good practice, because you don't know what your body needs or how long you're going to actually do it until you do it. Because 7 days in, you might be like, ooh, I'm cramping up, I better stop. Or your blood pressure might go kind of low. I would, like I said before, fasting shouldn't be done without some sort of medical person kind of keeping an eye on you. Even if it's, a friend or somebody that knows what the heck they're doing, that kind of can, look at your symptoms and, make sure that you're not doing anything that, maybe tell you to stop at some point. Because, there's a lot of release of toxins and things like that during fasting. But also there are signs and symptoms that say stop. And unless you have someone else can look at, what's happening with you objectively and say, okay, it's time to go. It's time to stop that. That's why it's best to do this in a medically supervised place. Now, I mentioned before to have, a doctor maybe supervise you, and that's a really difficult thing. Your doctors that will supervise a fast, few and far between. There are some, you can Google it and you can find numbers for doctors that will, supervise your fast over the phone. But generally, that's in person. It's highly likely that you won't find one near you unless you live in California or like the Bahamas or something, because this is the modality of medicine in the United States is more towards giving a pill or surgery for any sort of thing, and it's really about symptomatic things, treating symptoms rather than actually curing. And so, and actually, if you go against that, you face a lot of scrutiny and problems in the medical field, and doctors are their careers are destroyed often if they do anything. If they don't have a strong support system and they try to do something that's a little off, a little different, and so yeah, it's very difficult to find a doctor, but a lot of times you can find a chiropractor or somebody else. A lot of like Alan Goldheimer and True North, is a chiropractor, and he's, you know, considered one of the world's, you know, experts on fasting, on water fasting particularly. And so, you know, I look at a lot of his videos and things like that for information. And you can't do this thing without reading. You can't do this thing without research. You have to read, like, you know, Herbert Shelton's book on fasting. A lot of people have read Paul Bragg's book. Paul Bragg is kind of, it's almost like a religious tract. It's kind of a fun read, but it's also like, you know, not very scientific. A lot of people read Dr. Joel Fuhrman's book on fasting, and he really takes a strong stance on medically supervised fasts. As a matter of fact, you can look on his forums, and if you tell him that you're fasting without a supervision, he typically tells you to stop. Actually, I believe that, you know, he'd probably tell anybody to stop if they weren't his patient, because obviously there's legal things involved. And as I will say, you know, I'm not telling anybody they should be fasting. And there's certainly people that shouldn't be fasting no matter what, no matter how they feel or whatever. If you have type 1 diabetes, don't do it. If you're hypoglycemic, probably not a good idea. If you are still growing, not a good idea. Yeah, and I don't mean when you're turning 18 you're ready to fast. I mean when you're like 25, maybe you're ready to fast. If you're 22, you're still growing. I don't care what you think. You might think you're not, even your brain isn't even fully developed when you're 22. So this is not something that you take on until you're a little older. Let's see, who else shouldn't fast? Obviously, people who have eating disorders shouldn't fast, because it's an excuse to you know, promote their eating disorder. You know, a lot of people try to fast to lose weight, and I wouldn't suggest it for losing weight. It's I mean, you can lose weight, and people do lose weight, but the majority of the weight you do gain back in a short period of time, particularly depending on how you refeed yourself after the fast. You're supposed to take about half the length of your fast in refeeding up to get to the point where you're eating normally again. So you have to kind of take it slow. And also, a lot of people just eat junk again afterwards, and they go right back into you know, their pre-fasting state. And you know, a lot of the what you lose is just glycogen that's stored in your muscles, and you know, things like that, and water. And you know, one of the first things that happens is your body gets rid of a lot of salt, and water goes along with that salt when you first start fasting. And so in the first few days, you lose, like, you know, 10-15 pounds just when it comes to like glycogen stores in your muscles and the water in your body. And so it's funny, because a lot of people, oh wow, you know, I'm fasting, I lost like 20 pounds. You know, the 20 pounds is going to come back when the first 2 days, you know, to 5 days when you stop fasting, because that 20 pounds is glycogen stores in your muscles and water. And that's just a matter of chemistry and, you know, your biology. So you generally don't start burning fat, like, seriously, till, you know, after you've started fasting for quite a while. I mean, as far as women, like 2.5 days. Guys, it's like 3 days. They start burning fat for fuel. They start a biological energy thing called ketosis, which is the same thing you'll read about if you read about the Atkins diet. Not that I would advocate the Atkins diet, but that's basically what those people run on instead of sugar, because they're not consuming sugar. And so what happens when you fast is, after a few days, you burn up your glycogen stores. Men do it slower than women because their muscles are bigger, so that's about an extra day. And then you go into ketosis, and your body's just burning fat for its food. And well, anyways, it kind of progresses, and it gets more efficient as you go along. And some people say that, you know, you don't really start really getting into it until you've done it for about, you know, a couple weeks. Some people shouldn't be fasting that long. It depends on, really your activity level. You really have to rest. You can't do anything stressful. Like I said, I was walking a little bit and my legs started twitching, and I overdid it. You got to really, really take it easy. But I'm in the summer, and I'm not working at the moment because of summer break, and so it's a time for me to take some time for myself. It's been a few years since I've done this. I've done a few fasts. I've done probably at least 24 daily fasts where you do it for 24 hours, no big deal. I've done quite a few couple-day fasts, and I've done a 5-day fast. I've done a 15-day fast, and so this fast right here, I'm going towards longer than the 15-day fast as my kind of goal, because I want to see if there is additional benefits. But again, I'm not going to put a number on it. Maybe 21 days. I don't know, because who knows? Tomorrow I might have to stop. Thing in the past I've done, whereas I've gone from a juice fast to a water fast, and I did the juice fast for I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, and then I did a water fast for 2 weeks, and I found that was a bad idea, and I'll tell you why. And I think it's fine to eat fruit. Obviously, the best thing to do is to eat a plant-based diet before you fast, and after you fast. That's the total thing to do. But what I had done is I'd done this juice fast up beforehand, so I wasn't eating any fiber because I was juice fasting. And so then when I was in my water fast, I wasn't eliminating I wasn't pooping, basically. And I basically had to do an enema at some point just to feel comfortable. It was very uncomfortable. So I basically had to do an enema just to, it was I had a lot of discomfort. So I would say don't do a juice fast into your water fast. Or if you do want to do something like that where you're kind of cleansing and doing a juice fast, do the juice fast and then kind of phase out of the juice fast and start eating some salads and stuff, beef and some fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and all that stuff before you do your water fast. So just so you can get your bowels active, and so you can have effectively clear once you're actually in your water fast. And so it's funny because you kind of notice when you fast, first thing happens is your glycogen stores and you lose some water and your salt gets ejected from your body, a lot of the salt, not all the salt obviously, and then your glycogen stores kind of empty out, and you see your muscles shrink a little bit, and it's not because they're shrinking from being broken down, and initially it's because you're losing all the stored glycogen, which is a way that your body stores carbohydrates. And so that goes away, and then you notice over the next few days you'll start eliminating more feces, and you're just clear out your intestines. So a lot of your weight, like I said, not only I missed that earlier, the glycogen and the water and the salt, and salt brings water with it. There's a water salt balance in your body, and when you lose salt, you lose water, because that's just how your body works. Salt really works. Your kidneys balance out your water, and it has a lot to do with the salt in your system. And so when salt goes out, water goes out. So when you're not consuming any food, salt starts leaving, and so some of the water goes with it. That's why they say you lose water weight. And then obviously glycogen, and then also your intestines, your short intestine and your colon, your long intestine, large intestine, I'm sorry, not long. Your small intestine, your large intestine, not short and long. That's kind of funny. So your small intestine, your large intestine, your colon, they both kind of clear out, and that is some weight in itself. And normally people have a little bit of stuff in there all the time, and so that contributes to your weight. And so like I said, all that stuff is a good chunk of the weight people lose when they fast. So majority of people when they fast, they stop fasting, and then the next thing you know, they gained all the weight back, or a good chunk of it at least. And so again, I wouldn't say that this is a weight loss thing. That's why you won't. I mean, I might put some pictures up, but it's not a big, it's not like a salient feature of why I'm talking about fasting. A lot of people go on to YouTube and they post their fasting before and after pictures, and you can look at their videos that they post 4 months later, and they look exactly how they did before they did their fast. Their end fast picture, they look like a model, whatever, but 4 months later they're posting new videos and they look exactly like they did on their starting video. You look at the majority of people, you look at their, they'll fast even up to like 40 days, and you look at them a year later and they look exactly how they did before they did their 40-day fast, even if they lost like 40 pounds. And so that's the thing. Fasting is not, I would not consider it an effective thing for weight loss. If you really know what you're doing, you can lose some weight fasting. If you really know and you refeed properly and you stay on a plant-based diet, and you gotta rev up your metabolism when you're done. So you gotta, when you're done fasting, you gotta start working out. Some people work out when they're fasting, which I think is I'm sorry, it is very foolhardy. You have a lower degree of electrolytes. If you work out when you're fasting, you could kill yourself. I've seen people lifting weights in their videos, and it's just, you use up all the potassium in your body, your heart is going to stop. You're not consuming any food, and minerals, vitamins. You're going to die. So you have to take it easy. Your body, this is a normal, natural thing. We're meant to actually have this famine period in our life. In our modern society, we just have feast, 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 feast. There's no lack of food, but naturally, and the way we evolved is we would actually have a period of time, most likely like winter before the spring, or if the spring is late, there would be some fasting going on. There's naturally built into us, and not all mammals can do this. Chimpanzees can't fast; they'll die. They may short periods, but they can't fast like a human can for up to like 40 days and more. But it's built into our systems, our bodies, to be able to do this. It's a natural thing. There's a lot of research behind it. But you have to rest. If you're working out, you're going to hurt yourself bad, or you're going to kill yourself. And I see some people on YouTube, they do that. It's terrible. It's not smart. And if they're even doing it, I question whether or not they're actually fasting properly. If they might be drinking some juice or something. I don't know how they can physically do it, because I've fasted a few times, and I know that when I fast, I have to get up after about 4 or 5 days. I usually have to get up slower, because you get kind of like your blood pressure goes down, and so you can get your blood pressure. I mean, a lot of people fast because they have high blood pressure, and it's like an instant cure. If you have high blood pressure, fasting is the most amazing thing in the world for you, because you'll get rid of that salt, and you'll balance out, and your blood pressure will go down instantly, and it'll stay down until you obviously eat poorly and then mess it up again. But your blood pressure goes down very low when you fast, to the point where you have to kind of take it easy. You can't get up fast. You might end up, if you stand up really quickly and you start running across the room because something was falling or something, you could pass out. So you have to take it really easy. You have to rest, so that's another thing. And so when people do things like, weightlifting when they're fasting, it's just foolhardy, like I said. anyways, this has kind of been a rambling video. I just wanted to touch on some features, some specific things about fasting. I'm not really doing the religious aspect a lot of people have when they fast. I feel inclined to do it for health reasons, but obviously you do gain, as far as fasting goes, you acquire, I would call it maybe the virtue of self-control through fasting. It's a form of self-abnegation, and you find that your willpower develops stronger from doing something like this. Oops, sorry. When obviously you're saying no to eating for days. And I would say the majority of people in our modern society could not do that. And they will tell you, oh my gosh, you're crazy, or whatever. And they think that fasting is starvation. There's a vast difference between fasting and starvation. As a matter of fact, I would say that when someone eats a little bit, and they, like maybe if I were to do what I'm doing, like for example, I'm doing a water fast, but if I were to eat like a biscuit every day, I would call that starvation, but I wouldn't call fasting starvation. So I would say actually, if you were to eat like a couple crackers every day, as opposed to fasting, if I were to do this exact same thing I'm doing every day now, fasting with water and no food, but if I were to eat 2 crackers every day, I would call that starvation rather than fasting. Because what then I would be doing is my body's energy systems would be in the normal, by eating those 2 crackers, I would be putting my body into the normal energy system, which is, carbohydrate using, using carbohydrates as fuel, basically. And then what would happen is your body would be in that mode, and it would be starving because it wouldn't be doing the ketosis. And so, but since you're in the fasting mode and you're not consuming any food, your body switches into that ketosis and it burns the fat for fuel. So when people say that fasting is starvation, they don't understand anything about the biochemistry of the body. I would argue that if you ate 2 crackers a day when you were doing a water fast, or cheated, or maybe you threw a little juice in with your water, you would actually be doing, you would actually be more actually in a starvation mode than if you actually were actually fasting. Because once you start those biological processes of carbohydrate metabolism, when your mitochondria are working in that way, then that's when your body would go, hey, I don't have this energy, and then you maybe pass out and things like that, based on not having those carbohydrates. But once you get back into the ketosis, it switches over into a new type of energy metabolism, working on ketones that are produced by the breakdown of your fat in your body, and then you're pretty good. So that obviously doesn't happen till you're a little further into your fast. If you do 1 day fast, 2 day fast, 3 day fast, you're probably not going to get into that. It's probably just gonna use up your glycogen stores, and that's it. But once you get into your 7 day fast, 5 day fast, 7 days, that's going to go into ketosis, and then you'll have that new energy system in place. But if you were to consume a little bit of food, or some juice or something during your fast, that would shift you back into your carbohydrate system, and then you wouldn't be in ketosis, and your body would be going and you'd feel sluggish, and you would have no energy, and you might hurt yourself, and that would be like a starvation mode. But let me talk about starvation versus fasting for a minute. Fasting is when your body switches its energy systems over to, go into ketosis and burn fat for fuel. Okay, so you're not, and you actually have storage in your body of various vitamins and minerals. Okay, so a lot of people think that they have to take vitamins and minerals when they're fasting, but if you do that, you're going to get out of ketosis because they're going to be coupled with some, macronutrients, and it's going to throw things off. I would say don't do that. But anyways, so the ketosis is going to burn fuel, and you're going to have, you can consist of just burning the fat that you have, unless you are already, a supermodel that has no fat. Generally most people have a lot of fat that they don't even know about, like visceral fat inside, along with padding their organs, as well as what's in the subcutaneous fat that's in your skin, and so you'll be burning that for fuel. And whereas in starvation mode, you don't have any fuel. Starvation is when you get to the point where you're either used up your reserves, or you don't have any you're not taking in stuff to really, most people, if you were to fast, most people could do it for like 40 days if they were supervised medically, I would say, depending on unless they have health conditions like I talked about. But again, 40 days is kind of extreme. Most people don't need that. Some people might use, you can pretty much cure diabetes in a shorter fast than that. And when I say cure, I mean take your numbers back to normal as far as your sugar and remove some of the insulin resistance. But if you were to say, for example, like I was talking about, eat a cracker a day for like of 5 months, you could kill yourself, because you're in carbohydrate metabolism. Your body's in that gear, and you're not providing it any fuel, and so you would starve yourself. So I'm a big dude. I weigh right now I weigh like 261 pounds, I think. It fluctuates. Like I actually went down to like 250 something, and now I'm back up to 261, and so it fluctuates based on how much water I'm drinking, I think. I started out 270, so I've lost about 15 pounds just in a few days. Like I said, it's all going to come back. But anyways, I have a lot of fat reserves. Okay, I'm 6'3", which makes that weight not as bad as it would be if I was 5'10". But I definitely have some fuel. There's no way. I could definitely go 40 days if I needed to, but I don't think I'm going to go anywhere near that. And I'm kind of rambling on in this video, but I just thought, I don't like scripting things too much, but I'll be doing that eventually, but not yet. I'm just kind of winging it for now. So I just wanted to talk about a bunch of random stuff in this video, since I've only put up one so far. So this will be, a chunky one. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm not don't treat me as a medical personnel, okay? I'm just talking mostly about my experience, and when I say you, I really mean me. So if you are interested in this as, intellectually interested in fasting, you can probably pick up a few things from what I'm saying. But like I said, this is not medical advice. Don't take this as medical advice, please. Fasting can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. I advise anybody that would want to fast to read several books on the subject, as well as get some medical supervision. Alright, well anyways, thanks. Have fun.